Welcome to GKZ. Please click and subscribe.
Jesus was traveling from town to town, helping people wherever he went. He was teaching them about God's love, healing the sick, comforting the hurting, and showing everyone that God's kingdom was very close. Everywhere Jesus went, huge crowds followed him. People walked for miles just to hear him speak or to watch him do miracles. They brought their families, their friends, even babies and grandparents. Everyone wanted to see Jesus. One day, Jesus and his 12 disciples were very tired. They had been teaching and healing all day and needed a quiet place to rest. So Jesus said, "Let's go to a quiet place and get some rest." They got into a small boat and crossed over the Sea of Galilee, hoping to find a peaceful spot on the other side. The boat rocked gently on the waves, and maybe the disciples sighed with relief. Finally, a little break. But guess what? When the people saw Jesus and his friends leaving in the boat, they didn't want to stay behind. They loved Jesus so much that they hurried around the lake, running from village to village. They told everyone they met, "Come quickly. Jesus is going across the water." By the time Jesus and his friends arrived at the other side, thousands of people were already waiting for them. Now, if you and I had been there, we might have felt a little upset or tired, but not Jesus. When he saw the big crowd, more than 5,000 men, plus women and children, he didn't get mad or say, "Go away." Instead, his heart was full of love. He saw that the people were like sheep without a shepherd, lost and needing help. So even though he was tired, Jesus welcomed them with open arms. He sat down and began to teach them all about God's love. He healed people who were sick. He told stories about God's kingdom, and the people listened closely. Nobody wanted to leave. As the sun moved across the sky, hours passed. Soon it was late afternoon, and the bright blue sky began to turn golden. The disciples started to worry. There were no stores nearby, and the people had no food. They said to Jesus, "This is a remote place, and it's getting late. Send the people away so they can go to the villages and buy food." But Jesus said something surprising. "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." The disciples were shocked. They didn't have enough food for even a few people. How could they feed thousands? They looked around and found a young boy with a little lunch. The boy had brought 5 small loaves of bread and 2 tiny fish. It was just a simple lunch, maybe packed by his mother that morning. Surely that wouldn't be enough. But Jesus smiled. He knew exactly what he was going to do. He told everyone to sit down in groups on the soft green grass. All across the hillside, the people sat down, waiting to see what Jesus would do next. The Bible tells us in Luke 18:27, "What is impossible with man is possible with God." Even when it looks like there's no way to solve a big problem, God has a plan. When we trust him, amazing things can happen. Jesus took the boy's lunch in his hands. He looked up to heaven and thanked God for the food. Then he broke the loaves into pieces and gave them to his disciples to hand out. Something wonderful happened. No matter how much bread and fish the disciples gave out, there was always more. They handed food to one group, then another, and still there was enough. Little kids, moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas. Everyone got as much as they wanted. They didn't just get a tiny bite. They ate until their tummies were full and happy. Imagine how the children must have smiled as they munched on warm bread and fresh fish. Imagine how the parents must have looked at each other with wide eyes, wondering how there was enough for everyone. It was a miracle. And when everyone had eaten and was full, Jesus told his disciples, "Gather the pieces that are left over. Let nothing be wasted." The disciples went around picking up the leftovers, and do you know what? They filled 12 big baskets with extra food. 12 baskets, even more than what they had started with. Jesus had taken a small lunch and turned it into a feast for thousands. Everyone was amazed. They said, "Surely this is the prophet who is to come into the world." They knew that God had done something wonderful among them. This miracle teaches us something so special. Jesus cares about everything in our lives, even when we are hungry or tired. And even when we feel like we don't have much to offer, if we give our little gifts to Jesus, like our kindness, our prayers, our talents, He can turn them into something big and beautiful. When you give Jesus your heart, even if you feel small, He can do mighty things through you. And here's a memory verse you can learn and remember every day.